I just understood what this means.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Leandra the TBR0, and we have already entered the month of July. 6 months of 2024 is behind us. It's crazy, I've processed it, and I am moving forward. Since we've entered July though, that means that it's a new month of TBRs, and I haven't revealed what my TBR is looking like for this month, mainly because I also was a bit late to the game in figuring out whose TBR game I was going to play. If you are one of those who's new to my channel and not aware of what I'm talking about, basically what happens is every single month I choose a different booktuber to highlight. I play their TBR game with them, and then in the end, they don't realize this, but whatever prompts they're doing, I'm doing it as well. It's been a really fun process highlighting booktubers who I'm very familiar with, as well as those who I'm not. Last month, I ended up highlighting Ellen Made Book Club, someone who is very new to me and also very new to my subscribers, and it was a really great time for all of us to get to know her because she's one of the sweetest people. Similar to Ellen, the booktuber I'm highlighting is newer to me, and I'm sure she may be familiar to some of you, but not all of you. So it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag experience, and I'm really excited to highlight this booktuber because we were recently connected by Battle of the Booktubers, which is hosted by Danny Dabbles. So I was in round 1, we've just finished it up. If you're interested, I'll make sure to have the playlist below. Even though you have missed round 1, there are still 3 more rounds to go, and round 2 is just beginning, and that's where this booktuber comes in. I'll be highlighting Kirsten from Reading Nymph, and she's a rather bigger booktuber compared to myself. She is a very cozy booktuber to enjoy. All of her channel is very cozy. She does cozy reading vlogs. She has provided a great plethora of cozy book recommendations ranging from cozy mysteries to cozy fantasies and everything in between. She also seems to be a huge fan of Gothic literature, which I know quite a few of you who are watching this also enjoy. So if you haven't already subscribed to Kirsten, you really should. And then you also can support her and the other booktubers who are in round 2, trying to battle it out and see who are the best recommenders on BookTube. So for our newbies, how this is going to work is that I'm going to show you me watching Kirsten's video, but I'm going to be splicing it up so that you're only really seeing how the game is being performed, the prompts that she and I are getting together, and then I'll be cutting to myself choosing the books that I'll be reading for the month. I will not be showing you the books that Kirsten has chosen for the prompts because your job after watching my video is to go watch hers and see how differently we interpreted these prompts, because we really did choose completely different books. So all of the books you see, none of them are the ones she chose, and I think that's part of the amazing process that is highlighting, collaborating in a bit of a sneaky way, because Kirsten doesn't know that I'm doing this. So I would really appreciate if you all go support her, go subscribe, go watch and like her own video to show that this process is meant to be supportive. It's not as though I am stealing views or taking her content, because really I'm just thoroughly enjoying it and making sure that you enjoy it as well. All right, so without further ado, let's go back to past Leandra and watch Kirsten as she plays a very fun and, I'm not gonna lie, chaotic TBR game.
Good to go. Okay, perfect. Let's get this started.
We don't need to get into that. This is a TBR video, not a crisis of do I even know my reading taste anymore video.
Honestly, that's how I feel this month. You're not alone, Kirsten.
It's Kirsten, and today we are doing my July TBR game. Now, before we get started with the TBR game, I do have 3 books already that I need to read for the month. We're going to hope that they get onto this TBR. For those of you that don't know, my TBR game, a very simple game. We have a 6-colored sided dice that correlates to a little ghost that sits on top of a prompt. Very simple. We roll the dice a minimum of 5 times. If the same color comes up twice, we do a re-roll, but I do cap that at 2 times. So we have between 5 to 7 prompts to fulfill for the month. I am going to allow myself to double up once. So I will allow myself to have 1 book that will count for 2 prompts once this month, just because I've already got quite a few books that I need to read for the month. That's what it is. Nice and simple. I hope you're all doing really well. Let me know what you're reading and if you're taking part in Summerween. I am going to go through all the Summerween prompts, like the dates of it and everything. That will be at the end of this video, so if you are interested, then just stay tuned. That will happen after we've picked the July TBR. I think that is all the housekeeping stuff out the way, so let's choose the 6th prompt.
I'm going to cut her off there because I am already excited about this TBR game. I'm not sure how much I divulged in my introduction to Kirsten, but I didn't realize that Kirsten even had a TBR game. I met Kirsten through Danny Dabbles because both of us are participants in Battle of the Booktubers of different rounds. Mine just ended. Kirsten's is about to begin, but I felt like it was a perfect storm because Danny happened to tell me, hey, by the way, you really like ghosts, and Kirsten's game involves ghost figurines. And I have a wall of ghosts. I really love to support artists who end up, designing beautiful canvases with ghosts and everything like that. So this is up my alley. But also, I just finished with Amazing Readathon, in which I was one of the ghost leaders for Team Spooky. So, I mean, it's perfect. I'm saying goodbye in a very lovely way to my ghost team while also supporting Kirsten as she begins her own Battle of the Booktubers journey. So, yeah, I'm very excited about this game, and I can't wait to see how it actually works as we watch it get played.
And get into that first roll. Okay, so I'm really hoping we get something nice. Do I know what would be nice in this pile? Not
Me
really,
neither.
no. I mean, a mood. Okay, we just dropped half of those. Hang on. I think that's a sign we should just stop waffling and just get to choosing. Let's go. You know what? Let's go smack bang in the middle.
Picking a card.
That's not a prompt I wanted. That's not a prompt I wanted, which is historical fiction.
I don't mind historical fiction.
And it's just not something I want to read because I am reading a historical fiction book currently for June. Let's just go. Roll number 1. We're not off to the best start. Roll number 1. Green. What? I didn't want that.
She jinxed herself.
Okay. So, historical fiction.
So, as far as historical fiction goes, I'm imagining, I haven't seen what Kirsten ends up picking for this, but I'm thinking we're allowed to have popular genres that are set in a historical setting. So, it could be a horror, a thriller, a mystery, maybe a historical fantasy. So, if that is allowed, and I suppose I could always tweak her game to accommodate my reading preferences, that's the way I'm going to go because I don't read historical fiction by itself. That is my least favorite type of fiction area, I have to say. So I'm hoping that Kirsten ends up picking something that's a bit more popular genre-esque so that I can follow suit.
Let's hope that the next pick, 1 is nice and 2, the next roll is nice. That's what we're going to hope. Also, it's really annoying when that happens, when I pick and then that's the prompt that gets chosen straight away. It's not what's wanted. Anyway, I'm rambling nonsense as always. We're going to go towards the back. A BIPOC author.
Perfect.
Roll number 2. Let's go. Roll number 2. Orange. Okay. Representation.
What does that mean?
Roll number 2, we got representation. I'm actually really happy with that prompt.
Okay, based off of Kirsten's choice for this, my understanding of representation is simply representation of some marginalized group, because the book she discusses, I believe, has Chinese American representation, but also the depiction of sapphic love, so it could be sapphic rep as well. So I'm pretty sure I have an understanding of what she means by rep, and I, of course, have a lot of options, so very good.
Roll number 3. Purple. Yeah, I didn't want that. I did not want that.
I didn't want that prompt
Right, well,
either.
that's classic. That does not go with the 3 books I need to read.
Well, that's annoying. Talk about historical fiction. Classics are actually the ones I avoid the most. Gosh darn it. With that said, I suppose I could always choose a classic detective fiction novel.
Let's choose another prompt. I'm hoping at some point I can, even if I can't get the 3 I need to read, I can at least double up on 1. It's just not working. Let's give these another shuffle. We're gonna try again. And I feel like I'm not having much luck. I could have filmed this on a completely different day and maybe have had better luck, but no, I chose to film it today. And apparently the luck...
We're here for you, Kirsten. It's okay.
Let's just go at the front. Okay, what's this? Now, if I had been smart, this is a short story collection. If this comes up, I think I'm just going to either scream or we're just going to have to change the classic that I've chosen to a short story collection so it doubles up on the prompt, which is not something I like to do, but...
I have not read a short story collection in a long time.
Blue. Season pick. The roll number 4 is season pick.
I'm excited for this. The one thing I'm going to have to keep in mind is that Kirsten is picking in order of the books, and I feel as though I have to follow that as well. So I obviously have all of the prompts ahead of time. So in the sense of doubling up, I could make that a lot easier on myself, whereas Kirsten doesn't realize it until she finds the next prompt if she can double up on the past prompts provided. So what I'll do is, if she doesn't double up anywhere, I won't double up, and if she does, I'll try to find a book that matches that combination of two prompts, because I'm realizing that that's pretty much how she's following it, and I'm trying to emulate Kirsten as much as I can in this process. So yeah, I feel bad for Kirsten. These are working out pretty okay for me, except for the classic. So, and I'm reading a detective fiction one, I already know.
But we are in the danger zone. I mean, there's a lot of colors that it could possibly be. We literally have pink and yellow as colors that we can have without it being a crossover. And I'm really not wanting the yellow prompt as over 500 pages at all. Kind of honestly feel like, at least if we get a reroll, if I just double up on that prompt and find a book to work, then I can do that. I don't know what I want, but let's choose another prompt. Honestly,
she's stressing me out.
It's not gone the way I thought it would go. Like, it's just not worked with the plans, and this is why I don't tend to take part in readathons and that, because my TBR is just chaos. It does what it wants, and it's so rare I get to fit things into it, and I could just not do the TBR game, but I have so much fun with it. Anyway, let's go here. Okay, so this is a pretty book, which, you know what, that's an easy one. If we get that, that's an easy one to double up. Right, roll number 5. Green. That means we have a reroll.
A reroll? I forgot what that means.
Which is a dark cover. The first reroll. Blue. And of course, we get another roll after this. Oh. So that is Pretty Book.
I think it's because we can't have another color until we've had them all.
Mythology. And now for the final roll. God. Green, which is a dark cover. Yes! Roll number 5 was pure chaos. I can't believe we ended up with 3 prompts to fulfill in this roll. And honestly, I have spent longer than I care to admit trying to get these prompts to work. And work with the books I want to read for Summerween. I then have to change the books I was going to read for Summerween. It's been a whole process, but we got there. So
I just understood what this means. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I need to reassess. Okay, from what I could understand is when Kirsten re-rolls, that doesn't mean it gets replaced. She has to get a book that fits each prompt, like a different book. And so what I have to remember is that there was BIPOC author, there was pretty book, and then there was dark cover. Those are actually not that bad, but that adds to all of the prompts we have to do. Oh my gosh. Okay. Kirsten, you know what? I'm feeling the same pain you are. Let's do this thing. But that is it for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this slightly chaotic time, because it did not go the way I wanted it to go. But if you have enjoyed this video, then please consider giving it that thumbs up, subscribe, and comment. Those 3 things really help this channel out. My social media links and anyone I've mentioned will be linked below for you. And I will, of course, catch you in the very next video. All right. Bye, Kirsten. Well, she is the sweetest thing, and we have a lot of books we have to read. Now, I know that Kirsten ended up combining historical fiction with the dark cover. We'll see if I can do that. That'll be my goal. But beyond that, I've got 7 books that I need to choose. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll be back when I am prepared to show you what my own July TBR is going to be, and it'll be really interesting to see how different it looks compared to Kirsten's. And you really should go check out Kirsten's video, because she had some really interesting options. Some I'd heard of, some I'd read, and others that are completely new to me. So it was a really great mixed bag that I can add a few books to my own TBR potentially. Not in July, but you know, in the future at some point. Hello, welcome back to Present Day Leandra, where I reveal to you how I ended up interpreting the prompts provided to Kirsten and myself, and which books I chose to read based on those prompts. So we ended up getting 7 total prompts. Kirsten doubled up on 2 of them, so she ended up having 6 books total
based off of those prompts. And I was able to do the same exact thing, but I also had a few more priority reads. My grand total, I'm pretty sure, ends up being 10 reads for the month, which is totally fine. It's very doable, especially after the amazing readathon when I read so many more books. Plus, I know that I have a few audiobooks available on Libby or Hoopla for some of these titles. Plus, not any of them are very long. You know, that's very much my style. I prefer a shorter book. So it's gonna work out, and I'm actually excited for every single one. So that is really very much a relief. To start with, I ended up having to find a book that fit historical fiction, our first role, but also a dark cover, the final role for Kirsten's game, because that's the two prompts that she doubled up on, and I really wanted to follow her as closely as possible. I didn't have to, but it worked out because this has been a book that I wanted to read for so long, and that is Miss Morton and the Deadly Inheritance by Catherine Lloyd. So I have an arc for this third book in the Miss Morton mystery series. It's set in London, 1838, and I am so excited. I have really loved the series, and I actually ended up reading book 2 first because it was sent to me as an arc. I went back and read book 1, and so far book 1 had 5 stars, book 2 received 4, and so I can't wait to return to Miss Morton, Mrs. Frogerton, the woman that she's the lady's companion for, and just everyone else in this world, because this has kind of become a comfort series for me, and I don't really know much more about it except for it has a very classic trope regarding an inheritance. I'm imagining that some type of matriarch or patriarch's going to die. What we're going to do is I am going to read the synopsis to you because that's also what Kirsten does. So like I said, we're following very closely. This is an homage to her. The dishonored Earl of Morton died without a pound sterling to pass on to his 2 daughters. So Miss Caroline has doubts when she receives an urgent invitation from a London law firm to discuss her late father's estate. When she meets with the cagey lawyer, Mr. Smith, he shares life-altering news. The Earl composed a second will, leaving behind an undisclosed fortune. Mrs. Frogerton is suspicious, and her instinct proves right when they find the law office ransacked, staff in turmoil, and Mr. Smith missing. The full weight of the situation doesn't sink in until Mr. Smith dies following a brutal attack on the street, discovered with an empty envelope bearing Caroline's name in his pocket. Whoa. With a connection forming between 2 deaths at the law firm, Caroline can't imagine why anyone would kill twice over the contents of a will. Then, the amorous Mr. de Bloom claims his mother goaded the Earl into making bad investments and promises to link Caroline to her inheritance and the disappearance of her younger sister. As Caroline unwittingly becomes the center of both a criminal case and a sordid love triangle, she must tread with caution to find the truth. I'm so excited. This is originally going to be published in September 2024, and I'm so lucky and so fortunate and so appreciative that I get to read this earlier than the general public. So thank you so much, Kensington, for sending me this arc. I really do appreciate it. The second prompt that we received was representation, and I wasn't really sure if I should interpret it the way that it seemed because we never really got a definition, but I ended up following Kirsten's lead, and I ended up picking The Night of the Storm by Nishida Parekh. So this is a debut author, and I was gravitated by the storm on the cover, and I really love closed circle settings in which something happens and really the only people who are under suspicion are those that are in the mansion at the time because poor weather conditions forces them inside, and you're like, well, clearly it's one of us. And this is described as a thriller, so I'm anticipating suspense, some twisty secrets, maybe some family drama as well. And the reason why I'm reading it is because I have a bit of a vlogging project in mind that I would really like to either get done this month or next month, and it fits representation because I know that the author is a BIPOC author, and I'm assuming that we will see some representation within the pages as well. Hurricane Harvey is about to hit Houston. Meanwhile, single mom Gia Shah is already having a rough week. Her 12-year-old son has just been suspended from school. Still reeling from the fallout of her divorce, Gia can't help but worry about how it's all affecting him. And now their apartment complex is under a mandatory evacuation order. Gia's sister, Seema, has invited them to hunker down in her fancy house in Sugarland, and Gia concedes it's probably the safest place for them. But when Seema's brother-in-law and his wife show up on their doorstep too, it's a recipe for disaster. Grandma, the family matriarch, has never been shy about playing favorites among her sons and their wives. As the storm escalates, tensions rise quickly, and soon someone's dead. Was it a horrible accident, or is there a murderer in their midst? I love that. With no help available until the floodwaters recede in the morning, Gia must protect her son and identify the culprit before she goes down for a crime she didn't commit, or becomes the next victim. Yeah, so actually this feels very mystery thriller after reading that synopsis, and I'm even more intrigued because when it comes to thrillers, those that lean a bit more into the mystery tropes work out for me better, so awesome. The third prompt that Kirsten ended up giving us was one that scared me at first because I am not someone who's a big fan of classics, but then I remembered that while this isn't a very well-known classic genre, it's one that's one of my favorites, and that is detective fiction, either in the hard-boiled or golden age style. And so I ended up kind of adapting this to my classic preferences, a bit off the beaten path. And so I chose a suspense, hard-boiled noir kind of classic by Dorothy B. Hughes called Dread Journey. So I've read one other book by this author before, In a Lonely Place, and I really loved it. It was one of my favorite books of last year, so I'm really excited to dig into this author again. And it's, of course, a classic when it comes to detective fiction tropes. It's set on a train. We are starting off, I've already started the book, with a handful of suspects, all with kind of different tensions, different backstories, different secrets. And like I said, it's a closed circle because it's a moving train. That's why it's one of my favorite tropes. And so when a crime occurs, you know it had to be someone on board. And yeah, it's a recipe for disaster of the best kind. Hollywood big shot Vivian Spender has waited ages to produce the work that will be his masterpiece, a film adaptation of Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain. He spent years grooming young starlets for the lead role, only to discard each one when a newer, fresher face enters his view. Afterwards, these rejected women all immediately fall from grace. Excised from the world of pictures, they end up in rehab or jail or worse. But Kitten Agnew, the most recent candidate, won't be gotten rid of so easily. Her contract simply won't allow it. Accompanied by Mr. Spender on a train journey from Los Angeles to New York, she begins to fear that the producer might be considering a deadly alternative. Something is going to happen before they reach their destination, and as the train barrels through America's heartland, the tension accelerates towards an inescapable finale. Reissued for the first time in over 20 years, Dread Journey is a taut thriller that exemplifies Dorothy B. Hughes' greatest strengths as a writer, written with sharpened prose and a mastery of psychological suspense. I'm so excited, and like I said, I've already started it and I'm already really enjoying it. We then received a very subjective prompt, which was a seasonal book, a book that kind of matches the season, which is summer. And for me, that does lean towards a bit more thriller-esque vibes because there are a lot of people who enjoy reading suspense, mystery thrillers during the summer. And so I'm kind of leaning towards that. Plus, this is a book recommendation from a friend, and I really wanted to read it, so I'm kind of stretching the prompt, but I don't care. Lucy and Savvy were the golden girls of their small Texas town, pretty, smart, and enviable. Lucy married a dream guy with a big ring and an even bigger new home. Savvy was the social butterfly, loved by all, and, if you believe the rumors, especially popular with the men in town. But after Lucy is found wandering the streets, covered in her best friend Savvy's blood, everyone thinks she is a murderer. It's been years since that horrible night, a night Lucy can't remember anything about, and she has since moved to LA and started a new life. But now the phenomenally huge hit true crime podcast, Listen for the Lie, and its two good-looking hosts, Ben Owens, have decided to investigate Savvy's murder for the show's second season. Lucy is forced to return to the place she vowed never to set foot in again to solve her friend's murder, even if she is the one who did it. The truth is out there if we just listen. Very interesting. So far, the books I've been choosing for the prompts have been very mystery and thriller heavy, and listen, I'm not mad about it, but we're gonna be seeing a bit of a change in the tide in the next two prompts because I'm also really itching to read some more sci-fi. I kind of been neglecting it in the last couple months, and there's been some really cool new releases that I need to finally read. So the next prompt we ended up getting was BIPOC author, and I didn't get to this in June, Escape Velocity by Victor Manibo. It's a brand new sci-fi mystery. It's set at this hotel in space, and I'm really excited to read it. Here, I'll read the synopsis for you. Space Habitat Altair is the premier orbital luxury resort, perfect for the Rochford Institute's lavish class reunions. Prime opportunities for alumni to jockey for power and to advance their applications to live on Mars. Earth is dying, and only the best deserve to save themselves. At their 25th high school reunion, finance magnate Ava pursues the truth about her brother's murder during their senior year. Political scion Laz hopes to finally win Ava's heart. Sloan, collecting secrets to offset his family's decline, angles for a key client. And Henry, heir to a healthcare empire, creates an unorthodox opportunity to reach Mars in a last-ditch effort to outrun a childhood secret. But the Rochford alumni are so consumed by their own plans that they can't see the global conflict unfolding before them. Soon, the rich and powerful will regret underestimating those they would leave behind on Earth. What? And it says, in this near future interrogation of privilege, a decades-old murder looms over the clientele of a glamorous space hotel, while a threat lurks in the service corridors. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. I've been obsessed with the hotel setting, as many of you have heard me say in various areas on BookTube, but also yet another sci-fi mystery that I can put on my belt. Yeah, let's do it. Speaking of hotels, the final prompt that I had to fulfill for Kirsten's TBR game was a pretty book, which was actually kind of hard. I realized that a lot of the books I want to read aren't super pretty. Like, it's kind of subjective, but I was like, arguably that's not very pretty. So I was able to find one, and it's one that I've also been meaning to read for quite some time, and that is Floating Hotel by Grace Curtis. So yeah, you can see hotels in space is a thing I'm interested in. Sue me. I am really looking forward to this, and just look how gorgeous that is. Like, I mean, really the color scheme, and this is described as a slice of life kind of hotel setting compared to the cutthroat privileged theme that's going on in Escape Velocity. So two very different books that just seem to have a core setting at the heart of their narratives. So what this book is about is welcome to the Grand Abina Hotel, home of the finest food, the sweetest service, and the very best views the galaxy has to offer. That sounds great. All year round, it moves from planet to planet, system to system, pampering guests across the furthest reaches of the Milky Way. The last word in suborbital luxury, and an absolute magnet for intrigue. Intrigues such as, why are there love poems in the lobby inbox? How many Imperial spies are currently on board? What is the true purpose of the Problem Solvers Conference? And perhaps most pertinently, who is driving the ship? Each guest has a secret, every member of staff a universe unto themselves. At the center of these interweaving lives and interlocking mysteries stands Carl, one-time stowaway, long-time manager, devoted caretaker to the hotel. It's the love of his life and the only place he's ever called home. But as forces beyond Carl's comprehension converge on the Abina, he has to face one final question. When is it time to let go? Oh my gosh, you're home away from home world. Maybe there are some secrets and some questions to answer. Aw, Carl seems really sweet, and I don't know, I'm very much looking forward to this. And that just leaves the 4 other books that are on my priority list. Most of them are thanks to the Manor, and listen, I am pumped for every single book that we ended up selecting. For my top tier, my sleuths, we have Only Christie in the book club, and we decided to read The Secret Adversary by Agatha Christie. Now, this is a reread for me. I'm really excited to introduce the sleuths of the manor to Tommy and Tuppence. They are a sleuthing duo. Now, this is definitely leaning more espionage when it comes to Agatha Christie's canon, and it's also very light. It's humorous. Tommy and Tuppence are among her younger sleuths as well. They're in their early 20s. They're trying to figure out their lives. They don't have much money, and that's kind of what gets them into their situation in the first place. They are looking for quick cash, and Tuppence ends up agreeing to this job that is all very much sketchy, and then she and Tommy kind of find themselves in this international scandal, and it's very fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the sleuths of the manor think about it, because for a lot of them, this is the first time they've ever read a book that follows Tommy and Tuppence. A lot of times we hear people who are reading Christie mostly knowing about Miss Marple or Poirot, and so I'm really excited to actually showcase this very sweet duo that is just a bit underrepresented when it comes to the general public and their knowledge of Agatha Christie. Speaking of the manor and book clubs, Only Christie in the Book Club is a bi-monthly book club, so that's our first ever read, and I'm very excited. Meanwhile, we also have Only Murders in the Book Club, which is for my suspects, my witnesses, and my sleuths. And this is our second month in which we're doing a book club read, and we are reading Tana French's The Searcher. This is my second read with Tana French. I read a handful of months ago In the Woods, actually with two other booktubers, Nicole from Dusty Book Sniffers and Coda from Your BookTube Bestie. I really like Tana French's writing style. I think she's a very thorough writer, and it's very believable in how she creates her characters and how she balances the A-plot of whatever mystery or kind of suspenseful action that's going on. Meanwhile, we are getting to know the characters and some of their mundane lives, but you're never really bored. So The Searcher is the first in another series. The second book just came out, The Hunter, a couple months ago. So I'm really excited to finally get to this one. And I'm also lucky to even have a physical copy because it was gifted to me by my director at the library. They were kind of searching through various books that were being donated, and they found this one knowing that I wanted to read it. And they were like, hey, do you want this copy? And I was like, of course I do. So I'm really excited about this one, and I'm actually probably gonna start this like in the next week. I'm 100% starting this in the next week. And the final book I have to thank the manor for is The Great Hotel Murder by Vincent Starrett. So this is another author who I've had experience with before. I ended up reading his Murder on B-Deck, which was a transatlantic classic mystery, and it was super fun. I believe it was published in 1929, so during Prohibition, and that was a really interesting perspective. This one, I'm assuming, was also published during that time. I haven't checked. I suppose I could check now. Published in 1934, so probably written during Prohibition, but published afterwards, so very interesting. And I know, I'm obsessed with hotels. What could I say? This is the third book that I'm featuring that has a hotel in it. But I will say that it's not my fault that I'm reading this, because remember, the manor ended up voting for this. They get to vote for something on my TBR every single month, and I had other options. They weren't all set in hotels, but this one was the one that won, and I'm actually really glad that it did, because clearly I'm a little bit obsessed. And finally, I am doing a buddy read with Nell from Nell Diamond and Danny from Danny Dabbles. We actually had this plan of doing a whole bunch of buddy reads, and this is the first one of many, but it's not our first time doing a buddy read together. We did a buddy read a handful of months ago. I believe it was back in February. We read Suburban Hell, which was a very cozy horror suburban setting, clearly by the name. While it was all right, we weren't that impressed. We had a great time with our discussion that came from the novel, and we really wanted to do another one. And so our first of many buddy reads to come after Suburban Hell is going to be If I Never Met You by Mary McFarlane. I'm kind of nervous because not only is it a contemporary romance, but it's the one I mentioned to the group. And so if it doesn't work out well, it's kind of going to be my fault. Meanwhile, we know I haven't had a great, I suppose, track record with romance lately, but it's one that I've been told is a really strong author as well as this specific title. So I am looking forward to it, and I also have it on good authority that it is a strong title within this author's canon. So I am excited, and yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. And those are my 10 books for my July TBR. Thank you so much for getting to the end, and thank you so much in advance for supporting Kirsten by following the link to her own TBR game video, watching it, seeing her own reactions, seeing what books she chooses for each prompt, and then making sure you're subscribed to her. So yeah, thank you in advance for already doing that. And thank you so much to the Banner for not only providing me some really great titles for the month of July, but just honestly being so much fun and keeping me excited, on my toes, especially as we continue Camp TBR-a-thon this month. And I really appreciate you in general. I just appreciate you, okay? That's all I want to say. But anyways, I won't keep you any longer. Hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!